Let's look at the political implications now after the MK party secured victory at the Electoral Court this morning. The court dismissed the application by the ANC to have the party be deregistered. I'm joined by Professor Bheki Mngomezulu, who is Professor of Political Sciences and International Relations at the Nelson Mandela University. Afternoon, Prof. Thanks very much for your time. Your thoughts as you listened to the judgment being given by the two judges this morning.
Thank you very much, Podvoyo, for having me, and good afternoon to your viewers. Yes, indeed, this is a historic moment in the political history of this country, simply because Umkhonto Wesizwe is one of the newly established political parties, and then it found itself on the other side of the law, so to speak, in as far as the ANC is concerned, and then the matter was then, of course, taken to court. Let me just say that the one that we had today had very little to do with the MK, although the MK was the beneficiary. It had everything to do with the ANC posing a challenge on the IEC in terms of the procedural matter on how it handled the registration of MK party. The one that is going to affect the MK directly will happen tomorrow in Pietermaritzburg High Court, where the ANC will be challenging both the name and the logo. But on this one, this development today was a very significant one, simply because there were people who were of the view that MK party must not be allowed to contest this coming election. And then, of course, now this is now water under the bridge. So it's now confirmed that MK party is going to contest this election. Of course, not disregarding what is going to happen tomorrow. So on the side of the MK, this is a victory. On the side of the IEC, in terms of it following all the procedural matters and legislative matters, it won the day. So therefore, it means the only loser here was the ANC, the one that had litigated on this matter.
But is it also a victory beyond the particular issues that the court confined itself to? In other words, politically, could it mean something beyond what the ANC may have had in mind when it sought to get them deregistered?
That was the primary objective. The aim was to get MK deregistered, and the angle which was taken by the ANC was not to challenge the MK directly, simply because it was aware that the MK did not register itself. So that is why it had to take its fight to the IEC and challenge the manner in which MK party was registered. Not, of course, considering the fact that the process started last year, as the judge was saying when reading the judgment, that in terms of law, the ANC was supposed to have acted or to have objected within 2 weeks, which is 14 days, which it did not do. And then when the ANC presented its argument as to why there was a delay, that argument was found to be less convincing, primarily because on the 26th of December, that is when the ANC instructed its attorneys to challenge this matter, which means, therefore, that the ANC only started acting on this matter after the 16th of December, which is when the former President Jacob Zuma announced that he was not going to canvass for the ANC, nor was he going to vote for the ANC, but was going to canvass and vote for MK. Then reality sank in. They realized that there might be something cooking here. Then that is why they had to act to speed. Even though in its own submission, the party was in recess, which meant therefore there was nothing they could do during that time. But at the same time, they also instructed their attorneys on the 26th of December, which also falls within the festive season. So basically, I would say the ANC shot itself on the foot in terms of common logic on this matter. It was not properly handled. I'm not sure what the lawyers were thinking, because if the ANC was wrong, at least their lawyers should have been able to pick this up, and they should have interpreted the law correctly, including the Electoral Act. Unfortunately, this did not happen, and then that is where the party finds itself at the moment.
Before we get to the politics of it, just from an administration and running, a political party, here you have an organization that is a few months old. We still don't know about its structures and how it operates and what it actually stands for and all those things. But being able to do things according to the book. You have an organization that is more than 100 years old that is not able to do things on time. And if you recall, a few years ago, there was a similar situation where, well, not exactly, similar, but you had the ANC being unable to provide lists to the IEC on time, as a result, not being able to contest a lot of places. What is that telling us about the ANC versus newcomers, but one who make sure that they do the best they can in their respective corners?
There are a couple of issues here. One is complacency. The moment you start winning elections from 1994 to date, you then lower the guards. You think that you are going to win the election no matter what. And in the process, you end up ignoring some of the basic processes that you need to follow. So for me, that is one main concern, complacency. Then on the other hand, on the side of MK, these are not newcomers in the real sense of the word. If we look at who the leaders of the party are, they know the rules. They know, basically, they know the rules of the game and they know how to play the political chess game correctly. So they understood that by the time they announced on the 16th of December that MK party was being formally constituted and that it was going to contest the election, there was going to be resentment from some of their former colleagues or former comrades in the ANC. So they must have done their homework correctly, knowing that they will be challenged. In the event that they were challenged, they were well prepared for that. And you could see when the judge was reading the statements that these are the processes that were followed, and therefore whatever the IEC did was in line or in terms with the law. Whereas on the other hand, because the ANC did not take the matter seriously until the 16th of December, as I've said, they started acting very late, by which time then the vote had already passed. So it was too late for them to make amends. But then to try and correct the situation, they came up with the argument that the party went on recess. And then even on that one, they also made a couple of mistakes, because if indeed the party was on recess, then let's say hypothetically their lawyers were also on recess, then the question will be, how come you were able to instruct them on the 26th of December, just one day after Christmas, if indeed you were on recess? When did you realize that the matter was urgent? In which case then we then started acting. So these are some of the issues. So I think going forward, the ANC will take this as a lesson and then try to avoid something similar from happening. But from what you are saying, Potvuyo, it's clear that they did not take a lesson from the previous experience. Because if they were unable to submit a list on time and there were consequences, then of course one would have expected that this time around they will be better prepared. But as I say, complacency for me is the main factor because the ANC has been winning election. Even where it lost, it still had the majority of the seats. So maybe the understanding was that, no, this is just another formality. Come the 29th of May, you will be announced victorious. But I don't think that is going to happen, given that for the very first time, you have 115 political parties, and to make matters worse, you also have independent candidates. So anything can happen this time around, unlike what has been happening up until 2019 general election. And not, of course, forgetting the 2021 local government election.
To what extent, though, can the MK party exploit this particular episode and go out there to the voter and say, look, they were trying to stop us from contesting this election, but against all odds, here we are?
You already started hearing this immediately after the judgment was pronounced, where the leaders of the party were saying that the ANC has tried to block us, but then we have emerged victorious. But if I were to advise the MK, I would say, as much as it is justifiable for them to celebrate, they must not make the same mistake that has been made by other political parties, where they end up canvassing for the ANC or canvassing against the ANC. The idea here should be to canvass for MK and say, here is the MK party, which has been properly registered according to the judgment, and these are the things we're putting on the table. This is how we plan to run this country in the event that you give us a vote. So they must forget about spending too much time talking about the ANC, which is the same point I've been making with to opposition political parties, saying that the moment they spend a lot of time talking about the ANC, they are canvassing for the ANC. And the ANC itself, the more time it spends talking about the MK, it is canvassing for the MK. Let each political party canvass for itself, and then let the electorate be the deciders as to who to vote for.